This Celtics run is historic, but historic's the wrong word because nothing's happened and there's nothing really that special about it. So I was thinking about the phrase historic adjacent. Brought to you by Michelob Ultra, the official beer sponsor of the NBA. Win or lose, you're bound to enjoy the ride with a good beer in hand. Michelob Ultra is good beer. The crisp, light, and refreshing type of beer with only 95 calories. So order yourself an Ultra 6-pack while we unpack 6 major things going on in the world of sports and basketball right now. I'm saving my biggest basketball point for last. I had to start with football because I've been thinking a lot about the end of a dynasty. As you know, I'm a Patriot fan. As you know, I love the Patriots and wanted this to keep going forever and ever and ever, and it's not. And there's 10 stages. It's like the 10 stages of grief, 8 stages of grief, 7 stages, whatever the stages are. I have 10 for realizing that your NFL dynasty is really over. First off, the end of the era playoff loss, when you're like, ooh, we definitely wouldn't have lost a game like that before. That was January 2020, Brady's last home playoff game. Titans 20, Pats 13. It was bad. Felt like Brady was leaving. Felt like the magic was over. Didn't know for sure. Then best player either leaves or retires. That was Brady leaving. False hope with the new guys is the third sign. So first we had Cam Newton. I remember nephew Kyle bought a Cam Newton jersey, or I bought it for him. I can't remember, but we had a Cam Newton jersey in our life. We were excited for it. That fell apart. Then we drafted Mac Jones. False hope yet again. Sucked us back. You know how it worked out. The fourth thing is championship envy, which is a weird sensation when your team has been successful for as long as the Patriots were. But, you know, Mahomes wins one. You start being like, the new guy. I remember when we were the new guy. Then Brady goes to Tampa. He wins one. It's like, oh, man, kind of rooting for Brady. That's pathetic in its own right. You're rooting for somebody else to win a Super Bowl. The fifth sign is the playoff loss / annihilation from a team that you used to own, which in this case was Buffalo, who the Patriots owned for 20 years. January 2022, Bills 47, Patriots 17. Felt like a specific, oh, wow, this is kind of really over. That leads to stage 6. The looking back at the dynasty, arguing about who was more responsible, because we did all that. Brady, Belichick, who's more responsible? Well, Brady just won with Tampa. And we argued about this for months, like it actually mattered, because it didn't matter because the dynasty was already over. Number 7, the nagging realization. There's nothing special about the franchise whatsoever anymore. Everything is gone. Brady's gone. Belichick's hit another stage of his career. But you don't really deep down want to admit it yet until stage number 8, rock bottom, rooting against your team to get a better draft pick. Would have been inconceivable to root against the Patriots at any point in the 21st century until last year. We did that, which leads to the 9th sign, dumping the last link of the dynasty, Belichick, followed by everyone talk about a new direction, new atmosphere. I like the old atmosphere when we won Super Bowls and made the Super Bowl almost every other year. But finally, the 10th and last one, and this is when it really, really sinks in. This is the last stage of grief. The schedule comes out. The Patriots had no Sunday night games or Monday night games, just a complete shutout. We were in Carolinaville. We were in like mid-2010s Jacksonville area. And they have one Thursday game, one night game all season, week 3 at the Jets. And then after that, it's just Sundays the rest of the way because the Patriots suck and nobody cares about them. So those are my 10 stages of grief. Speaking of the schedule, my second thing I wanted to hit in the 6-pack, my single biggest NFL pet peeve. I have a lot of NFL pet peeves. I don't know if anyone's complained about Roger Goodell in the NFL more than I have over the last 20 years. I like to complain. They tilt the schedule every year so that there's too many early games on certain Sundays. Why do they do this? For instance, week 2, there's 10 early games on Sunday and 3 late games. 10 early games, all at the same time. I can put 6 games on my TV situation. I think I have a top TV situation. There's 4 games I just can't have on at any point. There's another one, week 4, 8 games early, 4 late. Week 7, they only have 10 Sunday games because of bye week. 7 early games, 3 late. Week 9, 9 early, 3 late. What are we doing? We like games for 6, 7 straight hours. I was trying to think of reasons they do this. First reason is they hate us, which I think is probably the leader in the clubhouse. They have a secret deal with the Red Zone channel to stack 2 Sundays a year with early games so people will want to watch the Red Zone, possible. They hate us. That's another reason. They think people have TVs with 10 screens. I promise you we don't. They hate us. That's another reason. They're trying to stack the late afternoon game for CBS and Fox, like one time each, conceivable. And the last thing I thought of was they hate us. 10 early games in week 2. They hate us. All right. My next thing. Inside the NBA. As I told you last week, I think Warner already lost the NBA. I'm sorry. I can only pass along things I've heard and intuitions I have. So I think people are starting to realize this, even though there's been some reporting and it's like, no, Warner has a right to match. It's just they got to figure out this whole how they get network. The ship has sailed. So we've moved into, is this it for inside the NBA mode? And people are getting hysterical about this because we hate almost everything. Inside the NBA is one of the few things we really like. Inside the NBA is going to be fine. If they don't keep the NBA package, which they're not going to, somebody else is going to take Barkley and they're going to take Kenny and probably Shaq. I think Shaq's, it's almost like a salary cap trade. We have to take his contract. I don't know if Ernie leaves TNT/Turner at this point. He's been there since, I think, 1892. But Barkley and Kenny, to me, this is like a Buck Aikman thing. They're going to be a package deal. They'll go somewhere else. And guess what? The NBA wants to keep Barkley and Kenny as a post-game show for one of the 3 streamers that is going to get this package. NBC, Peacock, ESPN, Amazon. They're going to one of those 3 places. We're not losing those guys. So save your hysteria and sadness as, oh my God, this would be the worst thing ever. Let's not overthink this. Those guys are going to go to one of the 3 places. Zaslav, who runs Warner and who's done some things that he's taken heat for. There's no question. This would be a deal breaker. Like he's canceled movies, but if he somehow is like, nope, you're under contract, you can't leave. There will be no inside the NBA. If we can't have the NBA, then you guys aren't getting that. He's not doing that. So what I think is going to happen, my prediction is it becomes a Buck Aikman situation. Amazon will back up the truck. And I wouldn't count out ESPN. And I wouldn't count out NBC. There's 3 suitors, and guess what? All of them are going to want Barkley and Kenny. So those guys are fine. Save your tears. 4th thing I have for you, playoff hockey. I am now a casual Bruins fan, as you know. And this is, it's bittersweet for me because when I was growing up all the way through college, I loved hockey as much as I love basketball, football, and baseball. I've written about this in the past. The Bruins owner ruined hockey for me. I just didn't care as much. The regular season became irrelevant, and now I am a casual Bruins fan. I just watch the playoffs, and that's it. I pop in, I pop out. I don't tweet about hockey. I don't talk about it on the podcast because you know why? The NHL fans love them to death. They're lunatics. It's like only they can talk about the sport. Only they can consume it. And if you're a casual fan, you just have to stay out of it. I respect it. As you can see, I stay out of hockey. But I still watch hockey, and I still watch Bruins playoff games, and I still know what's going on. So I'm just going to use this one time right here to talk about the best part of playoff hockey, which is working up irrational, genuine hatred for whoever your opponent is for your favorite team. And I hate the Panthers. They're playing Florida in the second round. The Bruins are down 3-2. Game 6 is Friday night. Just some highlights of hatred for the Panthers. Nick Cousins, you're the most despised guy in the league. I don't think it took this Bruins series to bring up animosity from a group toward you. You're probably the dirtiest player in the league. And if you were playing in a bigger market, you'd be a bigger deal, but nobody gives a shit about you because you're in Florida. So there's that. Montour, you do this thing where you stick your tongue out after being separated by the officials. It's lame. Honestly, it's lame. You look like a loser. We have all the ability in social media and stuff to just cut this out and add different video and stuff. You suck. Matthew Tkachuk, your dad Melrose guy, went to Malden Catholic. I was living in Massachusetts during that time. He was a Cam Neely type. We all rooted for him. Went to Winnipeg. Good career. Always liked him. It's too bad his son is the Antichrist. He fought Pasternak. Pasternak doesn't fight. Like, it's one of those, like, there's certain guys you have on your team, when they get in a fight, you're terrified the whole time because they don't know how to fight. As you can see, when Pasta's trying to throw a punch, he's just missing these wild haymakers, lands on the ground. Then Kachuk's like basically trying to Kermit Washington him as he's on the ground. What a dick. Even if you win game 6, which you might, I hope you get punched in the handshake line. I don't like you. You would have been an awesome Bruin, but you're on another team and I don't like you. Sam Bennett, the villain of this series for Bruins fans, who cheap shotted Marchand, who cheated for the biggest goal of game 4. And I hope he gets severe food poisoning tonight before game 6. Last but not least, Florida fans, settle down. You didn't know what hockey was until like 1993. You literally didn't have hockey. You've never won a cup. The average person who follows sports has no idea what city you're attached to. You're the Florida Panthers. Are you in Jacksonville? Are you in Orlando? Are you in Palm Beach? Nobody knows. The answer is Miami. But literally, most people don't know that. You sit there, you're dressed in red. You're waving your dumb hankies. You're wearing your DeSantis 2026 t-shirts under your jerseys. Nobody knows where the fuck you play. Fuck off. Last but not least, the Panthers in general. I never thought I'd hate a team more than the Lightning, but I think I hate you guys more. So that's it. Playoff hockey. Really fun to hate another team. It's not rational, but I don't like any of you. 5th on the 6-pack, the PGA tournament. They finally moved it to May to make it stand out a little bit, so it wasn't the last one. So at least it's not last, but I continue to think it needs its own gimmick because the U.S. Open is like the better version of the PGA tournament. The Masters has Augusta, and then, the Open is in England, Scotland, wherever it is every year. And you know what those three are. And the PGA is kind of like, it's the 4th major. It's SummerSlam. So I think the gimmick should be the players should have to carry their own bags. No caddies. I've been pushing for this for 20 years. Nobody listens to me. But if you're talking about the 4 majors, what's the PGA? Oh, that's the one where they don't have caddies. Ooh, this is going to be tough for Tiger. He's old. He's got to carry his own bag. Maybe he'll have less stuff in it. Oh, the younger guys have an advantage because they have to carry their own bag. Oh, watch the guy dump the bag. Oh, he kind of dumped that bag right as that guy was lining up his putt. It was a little bad blood. So many variables of the no caddies carrying your own bag. I just think the PGA would be great. All right, last but not least, basketball finally. So this Celtics run is historic, but historic's the wrong word because nothing's happened and there's nothing really that special about it. So I was thinking about the phrase historic adjacent. They've had the best, this is just for the last 8 years. They've had the best regular season record since the 16-17 season. They're 413 and 223. Only Milwaukee has won 400 games other than them. Milwaukee has 406. So best record last 8 years. They've made the best trades in draft picks of anyone in the league for almost a decade now. Tatum Fultz, masterpiece. Getting Horford back, smart. Porzingis, Derek White, Drew Holiday. Not trading Jaylen Brown for Kawhi Leonard, who's played like 45% of his games. They've just done a really nice job putting together the team. They didn't tank like a lot of these other teams. Like Minnesota got the number 1 pick with Anthony Edwards. OKC shut it down for 2 years, and even a couple years ago just wouldn't play SGA, even though he was one of the best young players in the league. The Celtics really only tanked in 2014. I don't even think it was a tanking. They just weren't that good. Tatum and Brown together, they played 7 years together. They've won 48 plus games, 6 of those 7 years. They've never had a losing record. They have 12 playoff series wins. They're 60 and 44 in the postseason together, which is a crazy number. You figure if they stay together 5 more years, they might play 200 playoff games together. But here's the big one. So 8-year runs, I went back and I looked at 8-year runs, how many times teams made the Final Four, meaning conference finals in either conference. The Celtics have done 6 in the last 8, which is just not that common. In fact, it's only happened by my calculations 11 times since the Russell era. Russell won 8 straight titles, so he's the leader of that. The Lakers from 80 to 88, they did it 8 straight times, 5 titles. LeBron, I'm just counting him as his own team because he was in Miami half the time, Cleveland half the time. He made it 8 straight times, 3 titles. The Bird Celtics, 81 to 88, 3 titles, 7 times. The Lakers with Jerry West and then eventually Wilt, 66 to 73, 7 out of 8, 1 title. And then there's 6 teams that did it 6 times out of 8. The Bulls, 91-98, they won 6 titles. Golden State, 15 to 22, they won 4. The Knicks, with Willis and those guys, 6 straight years, 69 to 74, 2 titles. The Pistons with Rick Carlisle first and Larry Brown, they got Rasheed in year 2, but 03 to 08, 6 straight times, 1 title. Philly with Doc and eventually Moses, 6 titles. 6 times, 1 title from 77 to 83. And the last team on that list is the Celtics from 17 to 24, 6 times, 0 titles. I mentioned this because all the teams I mentioned won a title, except for the Boston Celtics with this current nucleus. So on the one hand, incredible run for them. You've 6 Final Fours in 8 years. Like anybody would take that. But they've only made the finals once. They've never won a title. And if they don't win the title this time around, then, they become historically adjacent. Because even if you go to the teams that won 5 out of 8 where they made the Final Fours, the Spurs in the Duncan era, they won titles. Celtics in the Counts Havlicek era, 5 out of 8, they won titles. The Lakers from 98 to 04, they won 3. Detroit from 87 to 91, they won 2. The Pacers in Utah in the 90s are the only 2 that did 5 out of 8 and didn't win the title. So the Celtics, at least historically, would go on that list. They would be with like Reggie and the Pacers. They would be with Malone and Stockton and the Jazz. And the problem for them is there's just not a lot of historical evidence that you could keep going, and then eventually belatedly win the title. It's usually going to happen at some point during this 8-year run. The Lakers with Jerry West probably took it the longest, where they made the finals a bunch of times. They made it in 62. They made it in 65. From 66 on through 73, they made it a few times, and they finally won in 72. But that's probably our only example of a team that totaled away with the same 2 best players or the same best player, and it took forever, and they finally won. This is the kind of stuff I'm thinking about as we head into round 3 with the Boston Celtics, who have had the easiest path to the finals of any team I can remember. They're going to either play the Knicks or Indiana in the Eastern Finals. They're going to have home court advantage. Indiana had deer in the headlights in Game 5. No idea what they're capable of in a round 3, but I don't have high expectations. And then the Knicks, it's like, OG Anunoby might come back. If the Celtics can't beat the Knicks without Randall and Mitchell Robinson and Bogdanovich, and with OG playing on a hamstring, I said it before, I'll say it again. It would go down as one of the and I hate the word choke, but it would be on that list for Boston teams. It just would. So there you go. That was today's 6 major things. Remember, get yourself a 6-pack of Michelob Ultra, a superior light beer, an official beer sponsor of the NBA. Refreshing, crisp, only 95 calories. Plus, right now, Michelob Ultra is helping fans get closer to the game than ever with exclusive prizes and experience like courtside seats to see your favorite team play in person. Learn more. Enter for your chance to win at MichelobUltra.com/courtside. Enjoy responsibly. 2024 Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri. Michelob Ultra registered. Courtside sweepstakes. No purchase necessary. Open to U.S. residents 21 up. Begins October 19th, 2023. Ends June 12th, 2024. Multiple entry periods. See official rules at MichelobUltra.com/rules for live entry deadlines, prizes, and details. Message and data rates may apply. Void where prohibited.